Welcome to the Sanctuary Podcast, hosted by Angell. In this podcast, we explore the mysteries of spirituality and consciousness. In each episode, we dive deep into the realms of human experiences, our rapidly changing world, and the unseen realms, tapping into the universal wisdom that connects us all. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker, starting to awaken to the possibilities of a more expansive reality, or want support on your journey, this podcast is for you. Join me as we explore topics such as shamanism, spiritual transformation, holistic healing, the medicine path, energy healing, plant medicine, ancient wisdom, and more. Our guests are respected elders and experts in their fields, and we'll learn from their insights and experiences as we journey together on the path of spiritual growth. If you can, please consider supporting this podcast by joining our Patreon page at patreon.com/thesanctuaryny. Once again, it is patreon.com/thesanctuaryny. Now, let's dive into today's episode.
On July 2nd, I'm going to be hosting a powerful class on cosmologies. I will be speaking specifically of Ancient Cosmology, and I will be holding that class with Marita, one who catches lightning, that you've probably heard on my podcast before. Marita has very long experience with Mayans and other cosmologies. So we are bringing medicine from the north and the south. We are bringing all the teachings of our elders in a very unusual format over 5 weeks. Once a week for 2 hours, we will be presenting this cosmology, but in a format that's probably unexpected. That's a little bit different. Because what we want is for you to experience deep transformation, to experience the magic of those cosmologies. And so those cosmologies, they have always been taught through oral tradition by elders, wisdom keepers. And so we are going to mix those medicine together. We've never done that before, but Marita and I have built a relationship this past year and really enjoy talking with each other, and felt that there was this seed, this birthing waiting to happen. So in the conversation today with Marita, we explore a little bit about those cosmologies, a little bit about how we're going to bring that together, a little bit about what you might expect, and talk a little bit about what's unexpected, what might come out of it, what you might learn from it. So I hope you really enjoy this conversation. Please check the Sanctuary event calendar on the sanctuaryheal.com. You will find this class. We have limited space. I don't think we'll be doing that again this year. I don't know if we'll be doing it again. So it's really an opportunity to dive deep. So if you feel ready to explore those ancient teachings in a small container, in a circle, to gather wisdom for your own personal transformation, to open your heart in unexpected ways, to understand this connection between the earth and the stars, so this cosmology, and how to bring the magical teaching in this embodied life as a two-legged walking on this earth, to really transform yourself, transform your community, maybe build this dream project that you have that is going to bring so much light into this world. I think you're going to enjoy the conversation we had with Marita today, and I really hope to see some of you on this class that starts July 2nd. Don't miss out, because sometimes those offerings are just a one-off, and then they just fly into the ether. So thank you so much for listening, and let's dive in now with Marita.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Look at the shirt I'm wearing. Save the elk. Look, there we go.
Like the dear family.
The dear family. Yes. How are you, Angell?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, we're here to talk about our upcoming series, our classes that we're teaching together. So let's give people kind of an idea of what is in the mix and why we're working together, other than we enjoy each other's company and we wear deer t-shirts,
Yeah, I think, when we met the first time and we started discussing and I guess following each other, yeah, I found that even if we work with different medicine wheel and different cosmology, there was so much richness when they interact, right? When we bring medicine from the north and from the south together, when we see how they weave together. And it's interesting because sometimes they might say even something quite different or opposite, even, right, for the mind. But then when we really sit with it and when we experience those medicine and get to learn from them, I think it can really give us the depth that we are all looking for. I mean, I'm guessing people that will join this, people that are looking for being really serious about learning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I love what you said. It's, it's, even though the seed, right, the seed of the cosmologies is there and is similar, it's just an interpretation. And so sometimes if you don't go outside of your system and don't see another one, you might get stuck in it, right? Stuck in that way of how that interpretation is. And, I've been weaving all my life and been taught by many teachers. And I love what you said, because it's true. When systems interact, there's that spark of creativity between them, right? That allow for that other to be created. And I feel like we're in that time where these systems need to kind of do this with each other, because so that the people who are looking now can see, there is still spark in these, right? Mm-hmm. These aren't just dead. They're not dead. We're not just talking about, people from the past. These are still living, being, breathing relationships. And so I'm excited about that. So let's talk about a little bit about the course. And if anyone has questions, please write them in. So we're going to be doing, as we said, we're having a conversation, right, for a couple of weeks. And we're going into the cosmology, the Mayan cosmology, Andean cosmology. And what are we going to be talking about?
Well, there are obviously, over 5 weeks or 6 weeks, it's very hard to cover the subject, right? Because I don't know, I've been studying Ancient Cosmology for more than 10 years and I'm still very much a beginner. And every time I return to my teachers and they say something, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And it could be, a very basic, what we would call a basic teaching around the fire or around the wind or around one of the direction or the ancestors or the waters. Like when I was in Peru a few months ago, or last month, my teacher was sharing something about the water and I thought it was such an interesting perspective. And that was very different from how I experienced the water or how I thought the altar was presenting the prayer. And he brought a whole other dimension, right, to all the other teachings. So, and people often ask me, well, why this cosmology and why not another one? And why is it different, for example, of certain medicine wheel from Native American people? And I say, yeah, it's true on the surface if you just read about it, right? Okay, the fire is in the east, and this is what's in the north, and this is the season that's there. But in fact, if you study them and go beyond the mind that loves obviously having an opinion and a tight version of truth, and if you really sit with it, and that's what I want, I think we want to bring there is an experience of it, right? Not just sharing the teaching, but for people to really sit with them and see how they reflect with themselves. Then we can experience the wisdom, because the wisdom is not the learning, right? It's the embodiment. It's the transformation. How is going to transform us, and then we might come out different. And so yeah, there is the directions, there is the elementals, there is the ancestors, there is the ancient sacred symbols like the Chakana in Andean cosmology. There is, the cycle of the sun, cycle of the water, cycle of the moon, cycle of human life, cycles of civilization. And in this cosmology, cycles are all connected. It's like the mechanism of a watch. We cannot turn one cycle without the others, being impacted by it. And I think finally what I want to say, and I really hope that it is something that people experience, is that it's an exploration of the self. Yeah. I don't want it to be, okay, we're talking about the elements out there, the directions out there, the sun in the sky, right? But to really see how this is just a reflection of what's going on with ourself, right? The Chakana, you can study the cosmos with it, but it's mainly a tool. I mean, it was designed to observe the cosmos and to observe the cycles, but it was a tool that was designed for alignment and personal transformation in relation to the greater cycle as human beings, and answering the big question, why are we here? What is life about? Where are we going? Where are we coming from? And I think that's common to all cosmology, from what I understand.
Yeah, you said something that I think is important. Is I've started to use this term slow medicine, right? This is slow medicine that we're teaching. It takes a long time. You've studied 10 years. I've studied, 40 years, in different varying places. It takes a long time, and it's supposed to take time. Time is part of the medicine of how to learn here, which is very different. Instead of being able to take off information and be like, oh yes, I know this, or this is where it is, as you were saying, right? The east is fire or water, depending on where you come from, right? It's not about ticking boxes. We are going on a journey of deep exploration of your beingness in relationship to how you function in the world, how other beings function in the world, and to say, wow, maybe there's something here if I think about rhythm in a different way, if I think about relationship in a different way. And I know I have a few of my students on here. They know that we talk relationship, right? And it's about a deepening and walking at a very different pace, and it needs to be done this way so that the medicine can get there, right? You can study these cosmologies all your life and still be a beginner, right? There's nothing, there's no quote unquote, I got this done, I got it figured out, I'm moving on. No, this is a way of life, because as you uncover, as you change, as your body clock changes, right? Things are opened up to these other clocks, and they're all working together, in many medicines, that I've learned, there are seasons of when you learn things, and there's a reason for that. You're only supposed to learn certain medicine between 0 to 16, 16 to 30, 30 to 50, 50 to 60, and then you go around if you're still alive, and then you go around if you're still alive. And there is a seasonality to when certain medicine can be taught, right? And I'm sure that you will go back and learn about water again, and I'm always learning all the time, but I think people don't understand that when they come in from a Western kind of society of like, they just think, oh, okay, I did the course, I have the information right now, I can, teach this, or I can, tell other people about it, but you don't hold the relationship, and you don't hold the depth of what it takes to, even in your body and in your system, for it to click, What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's essential. And we are also, in that perspective, we are also all holding a piece of the puzzle. Yeah. One of the discussion I had recently with my teacher, he said, that's when colonization happened in Peru, and, all the sacred sites were closed down and people left them. Some people left to the jungle. Some people left to other place. And we were at Machu Picchu where we were sharing that. He say the medicine didn't disappear. He went in the land. He went in the stone, and he went dormant. And so when we visit, because he likes to involve everybody that is there about asking him, what do you see? What do you see there, right? Yeah, there was this very big rock with this face on it. I personally see a frog there. Some people see a puma. Some people see a head of snake. Some people see all of that. And people were asking him, okay, what is it? And he said, it's all of that. He said, we are now the piece of the puzzle, and we need to come together. And if it's true for you, if it's what you see, that's what the soul wants to see. That's a piece of the puzzle that is there, right? So I think it's very different than thinking of, and I think that's always a struggle I have when I teach. People think of top-down teaching, right? They listen, they absorb it. You know, it's kind of one way, where in fact we're in a circle together. We are sharing medicine together. And what's happening in the reflection is as important, if not more, in fact, than my own knowledge or what my teacher told me. So we can really alchemize and transform it, still having, elders and truth and guidance that we can, look at, so we don't get lost, because we have a lot of, filters that are not true. And so we might, see things or feel things that are coming from this program of society we are living in, right? Or colonization, or many other programs that we carry. But it was interesting to sit, to share what everybody was seeing, and to try to have an experience what people maybe 500 years ago were doing there. What was this rock about? What was there about? Because ultimately, we might never know the ultimate truth, right? But ultimately, also for our ancestors and for those people, things were not from the mind, they were felt. And so if there was a big ceremony and 40 people there, maybe everyone would have a slightly different experience, right? And would have a different vision. And that would be that sharing together that would give power to those places. It was not like just a high priest that says, this is what it is, right? That's very much the religious version of spirituality, right? But it's not how it worked in those tradition. Definitely not how it should be remembered.
Yeah, you said something. I love that image of, what do you see in that rock, right? Because it's true. Like the way that these thoughts, cosmologies, practices, ways of beings were put together physically was the involvement of all the elements, and all the elements participated, right? When we look at stone tablets, that's the stone people. That's the stone people actively participating, right? Stonemasons had a deep connection with stone medicine and listened to the stone people. They're not just out there tagging, right? We're not just like, I'm going to go tag my name on here. I was here, it was a deep reverence of, who can hold this? Right. And if you think about the slow medicine that we're talking about, that's why we went to the stone people, to hold and to build our temples, right? Because they could withstand time. They could withstand what was going to happen. And many knew what was going to happen. There's many prophecies that happened that people were like, oh yes, this is coming. We got to get ready for it. And so when we're in these circles and we're talking about the elements, these aren't just things that are outside of us or that we see. They're ones that it can actively participate in the creation of life. And they are, whether you're cognizant of it or not. And so I think we're going to have this beautiful opportunity in this circle to, let's say, if we do sit with an element, to really understand, what does that element mean and how does it participate outside of my life, inside of my life, in co-creation and in not co-creation, right? With all the fires that are happening around the world right now. I know you're experiencing one, and I lived in California for a long time, sitting with that element, right? What is that element? How does it work in and of itself? How does it work when it is used by humans? How does, and look at it like that instead of just this climate crisis, right? We have to stop talking about this. It's like, how are these elements in and of their own nature in coexistence with Earth, who is trying to do something, right? Get back to balance. That's what Earth is trying to do. It's just trying to get back to balance, saying there's an imbalance here. And so let's have that discussion. So I think, these medicines allow us to not just philosophically in our head think, oh, yeah, rocks. Oh, yes, wind, things like that. But to start to, as you said, what do I see in this? And once we get away from just the need to know, what does the rock want to show me? How does it want to speak to me? How is it revealing to me a lesson? Right? Because we are, humans go to like, it's about me and I need to know, and this is how I'm going to interpret things, but really kind of start shifting where it is about co-creation. So co-creation is about learning. Co-creation is about negotiating constantly, right? So it's not about fixed knowledge. We don't teach, nor have I been taught fixed knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I know. My grandfather would be like, yeah, ask me this now and ask me in 5 days and ask me in 20 years. The answer will be different because everything has changed,
Yeah, and it's all about really the nature of relationship, right? And because we lost relationship, it could be to the stone, right? So we might look at this wall in Peru and say, how did they build that? But we get very much in our mind, right? We're projecting, okay, I need to cut the stone, I need to move it, right? We're not really asking the stone, okay, how were you moved there? What was the intention? My teacher took the beautiful example. He said, if you try to move someone that is not cooperating or you don't have a relation with, and you tell him to go all the way up the mountain or that he's dead, it's going to be very hard. And the body gets very heavy when people are dead, right? But if you're in relation to that person, you say, hey, let's go up the mountain. And that person say, yes, okay, you might struggle, but it's going to be much easier to go there. And he says, that's the way the stone moved. Because the people that cut the stones, that they knew where to cut. They asked the stone, they look at it, their relationship. And so, yeah, it might look like that, but they say they just didn't move only the stone, they moved the spirit of it. And there was cooperation. And so, yeah, we can learn from books. Very often people ask me, I want to go deeper. Is there any book I can read? And say, in fact, if you want to go deeper, you should not read any book. You should really sit with the teachings. You should embody them. You should practice them. You should hang out around other teachers, other elders, and really, refine that in your heart, in your body, in your feelings. But the more you want to learn from the Western way of learning, which is, buying books and maybe getting a PhD in cosmology, I'm sure that exists out there, right? You're just going to be another constricted version of the truth. Limited, right? It's going to be limited. Even if the book looks amazing and there is 1,000 pages in it, that's not going to give you the depths of my elder that can barely read, by the way, that live in a culture of oral transmission. And there's a reason why it was oral transmission. It's not that the people were stupid and could not write. It's not like they didn't want to write anything down. It's that they understood that the only way to understand those cosmologies was to be shared orally, to feel it, to give silence, to be in relation with each other so we can be in relation to that cosmology. And I think it's very hard for the Western mind to really understand that somehow there is more knowledge that way than if we read a book about it. You can buy a book about Machu Picchu, for example, I was talking about, right? But it's not going to be your experience if you just go there and sit and meditate and just watch and see and feel. And maybe it's going to take you 2 hours before you hear anything. But at some point, why Machu Picchu?
that mountain, Machu Picchu, the other mountain, those mountains are going to start talking, because that's why people came here, because those mountains were telling them something.
Yeah.
And we all have that capacity, right? But we need to give this stillness, the silence, the pausing, the waiting. And it's so countercultural, right? It's like, yeah, you talk about climate change, right? We want to fix it, right? So we come up with the same solution that created the problems from the mind, right? More technology, more this and more that,
Yeah.
where nobody is really listening to what is really happening. And we keep creating solutions that are coming from the same extractive point of view, the same separation point of view, right?
Yeah. You know, as you're speaking, I saw someone, Pele's awake right now. And it was funny. I had someone write to me like, oh my God, aren't you afraid? And I was like, no, when we are in deep relationship with the Aina where we live and the land where we live and the gods that are still alive around us, we welcome them when they're here. Right. And so it's a very different way of being, of instead of, it's about co-creation. When you're talking about the stone people and co-creating, when we're talking about climate crisis, that's not co-creation, right? And we have an opportunity in these circles, right? Because they are oral tradition, as you said, for a reason, right? Because you need that resonance from one resonance to another resonance to another resonance, as in it comes around back into the circle. You've just knit and created something new, and everyone gets to hear and participate and learn, and the teachings continue to evolve as we go on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the beauty of oral tradition, that it is alive, right? It is not dead. This is alive. And the same way that you can sit at Machu Picchu, my grandfather would sit in front of the Mona Lisa. He sat in front of the Mona Lisa because had a practice of sitting as an indigenous person, right? He sat in front of the Mona Lisa. He got an opportunity to go for every day for 4 days straight, every day from opening to end. And he would just sit there, and people thought he was crazy. But he came from a tradition of sitting, right? And so when people say, oh, you can't do that in the modern world, people are doing it. My grandfather used to do it. He used to just sit there in front of the Mona Lisa. He wouldn't see anything else. So I'm just going to sit here. If this is so famous, if this is what draws people and has, all of this history, I want to sit with this thing, right? And learn and listen and see. And, had he been able to spend more time, he would have, because that's who he was, and he would always talk about it, just as he talked about the temples that were built and the stones that were built and all of that. And so, it's these ways art can be used in the modern world. We can allow ourselves to sit and to learn and just take in. And for me, when I say learning, it's not understanding, right? I want to learn, not because I understood and then I'm done, right? And I feel a lot of people go like that. Oh, I get it now, right? I had the other day, I wrote a comment on something and I was like, oh, just so you know, in our tradition, this, and they're like, I understand completely, like no need to. And I was like, I don't think you do, because if you had been taught in indigenous ways, you would have never said that. You would have never said, I got it. You would have said, thank you. This is a different way. Or could you share more? So there's this thing in indigenous teachings that you're never done. You're never complete. Learning doesn't mean complete understanding and grasping, right? I need to grasp this content. And so I think we're going to be, this circle is going to stir the pot, to allow people to really shift from one way of being into another. And it's a beautiful journey, right? We're going to remember how we came here. So we're going to do from earth to stars. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I think, just to add on what you were saying, I think the big misconception people when they want to learn this knowledge, we think we're coming to for knowledge, we're coming for relationship, we're coming for relations, for connections. And there is a massive desire of being in a relationship because it is wired in nature and in our nature too, right? But there's also a massive desire from nature to be in a relation with us. And so when we make that happen with the teachings, when we get in relation with them, something speak back, because I think there is a real craving, there is a real loneliness from this separation that is not natural. We're like this lost child in the wood, right? And the forest really want to communicate. And I think however long we have been doing that, or we're doing that, we can always be so surprised when we do this extra mile into offering, into wanting to be in a relation and to witness what is back. When I came back, I was away from Peru for a little while, and I came back on my land last week, and I spent some time with a new elder that I've never sat before over there, and she gave me a ceremony to do on my land, something very specific. And so, I prepared this ceremony for a week, and couple of days ago, with my wife, we went on the land and said, okay, let's go do this, right? And so I went to the four corners of my land, and I've been on that land for over 15 years. I think I know it pretty well. It's only 7 acres, right? And here we are, putting our things on the four corners, and then we arrive at the last corner of the land, which I've been many times, but then I discovered that in that corner there is the biggest and oldest tree my land has, which I've never seen before, which is, I was just like, I could not even believe it. It's like this 600-year-old probably oak tree. Like I've never seen an oak tree that large, and especially here, because all the forests were clear cuts a few times in the past few hundred years, is a survivor of the ancient forest here. And he has this massive opening, like a little cave under him, definitely ready for an offering there. So we finished our ceremony there, and I was just walking back so puzzled. I was like, how crazy that I'm on this land every day, right? And foraging and walking around and taking care of it. And here I discover this big gift that was given back to me. What happened? I went a step further into my relation. I was doing a very big, important ceremony of offerings that's coming from the south, bring it here for specific reason. And the land was speaking back, showing me, hey, I'm really happy. Here's a gift. There's an elder tree here, and that's the biggest one. And that's the one now that's going to hold the space for that ceremony and other work, right? But anyway, I was just smiling, walking back, just like a child, right? Like you say, I don't know. Oh, thank you for teaching me. Thank you for reminding me that, in fact, even if I walk those ways for a long time, that when I go back with, new eyes and as a child and really give something, I haven't done that kind of ceremony for a while on the land. The land was like, here's a big gift. I mean, big, right? So that's that. That's Earth to Star. For me, that was a reminder, right? Here's the Earth, right? Here's this massively rooted ancient beings. That is oak, which is a tree I did a dieta a year and a half ago with, and I had the most amazing tobacco dieta with oak tree. Probably the most profound dieta I've ever done with the plant, which was surprising to me because it's oak and it grows everywhere here. And it's not, a fancy tree from the jungle. It's just this beautiful ancient elder. And here it is oak coming back again, right? Coming from my dreams and what I've seen in my visions of my dieta. Keep, going back, and probably after me is going to keep teaching, right? So it was for me that direct connection. Here's a cosmology I'm connected to in the Andes. I come back, I do that ceremony on the land, something, very digging and burying stuff in the land and pouring offering and then, covering it, my hand in the dirt, and hear that teaching from the stars that's coming from the ancient people of the Andes, from ancient people here coming back as a cycle, right? I put down, it goes up, came back down, showering on me. For me, that's what Earth to Star means, right? Is that there is this relations, right? The Sacred Valley in Peru, why do we put prayers in the river? It's because it's once a year, it aligns with the Milky Way, right? It's not called the Milky Way in Quechua language. That's our English way of looking at it. It's called the Sky River, right? Over there, because it aligns at very specific time in the year. And then when it aligns, those prayers, they go up from the rivers into the stars. And then if you're patient, your prayers are coming down from the sky through the rain, through other blessings, right? They understood that connection between earth and sky, earth and stars, right? It's really key in Ancient cosmology, this earth to sky, and in so many cosmology, right? Like we understand that, like we want to know the weather. What do? We open an app and we look at it. My teacher always laughed at it, said, just go outside and look and feel and ask. Look at the earth. She's going to tell you if it's going to rain next day or tomorrow and what's coming. You say, how can you trust this? It's like so disconnected, right? Say, if you really listen, and it might take you 10 years to remember the teachings, right? The sky is going to speak to you through the earth and vice versa, right? They're in relations. So just be in relations. So that's how I see the earth to sky and sky to earth, right? Or earth to star and star to earth. It's not, new agey. It's not like, I'm a star being and this and that. No. It's like I'm part of this cosmology of this cycle. And right now I'm embodied and incarnated into this skin on two-legged, not with wings or anything like that. Doesn't mean I can fly, right? But really, I'm on two legs, and my goal and my purpose here is to be embodied in that and realize that, in fact, I'm part of all of it, and I'm connected to all of it, and I can hear all of it, right? Without escaping, right? I was putting my hand in the dirt. I was pouring some wine and other offerings and on the land, right? And here it came.
Mm-hmm.
And that's available all the time, right? That's the thing we don't realize that, I know there is plant medicine and there's many ways to connect, but in fact, I really truly believe that the most striking one is the one we experience in this level of consciousness. And we get like just blown away. And that reality, right? Wow. Can be coincidence, because that's what my elder is telling me. That's in the Chakana. In fact, they explain very well how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And that Chakana, is just this little, you see it here, right? It's just this little, seems very simple, right? There's so much there. In fact, there's a soul compass in it. There's a compass for the universe, life and death. It's all in that little symbol, right? But it's an earth little symbol, right? It's very simple, but it's connected to the stars, right? It's speaking through. That's what I'm excited about, that, right? It's like making that connection. I think like you, right? I like things that are embodied and practical and real, right? Like, because then we cannot deny them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the magic, when we can see the magic there, then I think it's where everything is just making sense. And like you say, you're not afraid anymore. You don't have to question everything. It just makes so much sense. It's not just a beautiful quote, or, there's a lot of quotes out there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what about an embodied experience of that cosmology, right?
Yeah, powerful. I love just some words are so powerful, right? Just like to truly arrive and be human is such a powerful gift you can give yourself, right? Because then we are on this journey, as you said, from earth to stars, stars to earth. It doesn't stop, right? Everyone now wants to blast off the planet, and it's like, no. It's here. We've even had stars land here, right? We've had stars interact, right? We live in a solar system. We are, our sun is our star to a degree. Like we are, again, star beings of here. We're here in this time and now for a reason, right? There's something that you can only learn in a body like this that we have asked the lesson for, right? There's only, deer are learning their lesson in their shape. Flowers, plants in their shape. They're all teaching us. The stone people all are living part of the question and coming up not with a solution that's, that's it, we're done, but how do I live deeper in relationship? And so I'm excited about exploring, how we can truly become part of the story. Human beings think that they're the authors of their universe, yet they're not, because they're not truly living an embodied experience in relationship with everything around. It's this disembodied idea of the mind, of how it acts and interacts. And so I love that we are going to be inviting people to live here now in the present moment, to find how these practices, these philosophies can be used in your everyday, no matter where you live, whether you're in Manhattan or you live on a farm. You can connect to nature because nature wants to connect to you, and it has something to tell you. And it needs you as much as you need it for that, like I said, that chispa to start that spark of conversation. And it's that spark of conversation that allows us to interact. And the more that we interact, the more questions we ask. And the more questions we ask, the more possibilities there are. So I'm excited about that a lot. So let's go ahead.
No, one thing I was thinking, is like we are, and I include myself in it, right? Sometimes we just search for magic out there, right? And I think the more we do that, the less we're going to be capable of really seeing the magic here and now in this incarnation, right? So we might go through, different, like I said, plant medicine, all the things, right? That we want to have that experience as a natural state of my being, and even just my presence, just the fact my heart is beating and I'm breathing, I cannot see the magic anymore. We're lost, I think, because we lost this capacity to really the sense of wonder and awe. We made, human beings kind of byproduct of a product society. So we're just another product, part of the products, right? And we're either to buy or for sale, either you want to look at it. And we really reduced ourselves to such a contracted, sad version of what human experience is about. And no wonder why people are looking for extreme experiences and for kind of escaping this reality that, some, a good chunk of the planet thinks that we're going to find, magic or solutions if we just travel, 1,000,000 miles away from here on another planet, where if we develop the senses and the knowledge and connect to a wisdom that is telling us, listen, no, the magic is right here. In fact, if you just do this and that and just sit with it, something's going to happen. And when you have an experience of that and you realize that the magic is right here and you are a powerful co-creator, that you are part of something that's so much bigger, but it can happen right here now. And you are basically the magicians. You channel the magics and you are the magicians and you are, all of it, right? And you're a child that's watching the magic at the same time. Then I think we are going to be a real earth caretaker. We are going to really understand what's at stake and what to do in a very practical way and not constantly escape. Because, even I met people that want to learn this cosmology, but as a form of escape, right? It's just one more knowledge. And then I'm going to get that knowledge, right? And somehow I'm going to get better, or I'm going to get, wiser or more happy. And I was like, no, well, you're not going to get more happy. And I don't know about wiser. You might get more confused for quite a while, in fact, before you get any clarity of any kind. And they're like, I don't understand why I would be more confused. I said, well, that should be right, because if you're not confused right now, the stories we carry are, not real, right? And if you think they are truth, that's confusion. Your clarity is deep confusion.
Yeah.
But yeah, without laughing on that, but I think it's really true, right? We're just always trying to get this escape, and returning is what the elders and the wise people of all tradition have taught us for thousands of years, not just in our cosmologies. You can turn to Sufism, you can turn to all the mystic and the Kabbalah. There's a return, and there's a code inside. There's something there, and it's very practical. It's very real, and that's where the power of prayer is coming from. The power of ceremony, the power of rituals. Because if not, this chakana here is just a piece of stone that is carved in a kind of squarish thing. It has no power. It only has power if I'm in relationship with it. I always tell people, you're a crystal, you can collect 1 million of them, but if you have just one with great relation with it, you can do everything you want with it, right? But we are hoarders, right? Hoarders of knowledge, hoarders of stuff. And I really don't want this class, and I'm sure it won't be, right? But that to be just an hoarding of more knowledge. To be, I think, like you, we want it to be really like experiential and really like, something set weird with what I know. Something is unsettling my system. And I think, if we get lost in it a little bit for a little while and confused, it's kind of good, because we know something is working in the depth of the psyche and trying to dismantle this illusion.
Well, you definitely know that this class is indigenous and not new age, when the promise is we hope that you get really confused. Not the solution. For $9.99. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my God. So let's tell them when are these classes starting again? How can people sign up?
Yeah, so I think we opened the sign up last week, so people can find that on my website and on your websites, right? They can also find that on our Instagram, and the class is starting on July 2nd. We're going to go it's 5 weeks. We're going to skip a week, so that's going to be from July 2nd to August 6th. And it's going to be 2 to 4 p.m. It's going to be in the afternoon, which is also good for people in Europe, people on the West Coast. And it's also going to be recorded. So if people want to listen again and again, which I always recommend, say just sit with it for a week and then listen again and again. I'm still listening to a recording of my teacher from 10 years ago, because I'm not hearing them in the same way, right? And people have the opportunity to join that circle. Right, to join that co-creation that you and I and all the people joining are going to do together, and come just with an open heart, an open mind, right? Because there's going to be a lot of deep teaching. It's not structured like a normal class.
No.
If you email me and ask me for the exact things we're going to do every week, I cannot transmit that.
No.
I can't, because just what happened 2 days ago, some part of it might be in the class, or maybe it might not be in the class at all, right? And something might happen until July 2nd that I want to weave into it. And we might change course at the middle of it, because the class, the whole boat, the whole spaceship, whatever you want to call it, is shifting towards something that is, we feel we are putting a very, very nice thread there. But I think hopefully it's going to make you more thirsty for your own introspection. I think, like you said, hopefully it's going to make you a little bit confused at time, and really challenge the belief system and look at things that maybe you haven't seen yet. And I know that potentially, those moments of connection when we bring that kind of knowledge can be life-changing.
Yeah.
And I really mean it. I'm not saying that to sell the class in any way. I know by experience that it changed my whole life, and it keeps changing it.
Yeah. And that's what I always tell people before they join my circles. Once you're in, your life will change. When you start to say yes to it, things start to happen in your life. And I've had a lot of people who just, will sign up for something, and then they send me an email and they're like, I know the class doesn't start for a month, but my life just started to change. And it's because you're in the circle. The minute you say yes, right, to nature, to everything that's happening in the cosmos, it will respond back, and start shifting so that you can see that oak tree that you've never seen, even though you've lived on the land for that long. And so I always tell people, everyone says they want change, right? But they're not really ready for it. So be ready for anything, right? Anything to happen. And, we all believe in, creating spaces that allow for you to be. We have spaces that we are witnessing, we witness in each other, so we don't get into each other's energy or anything like that. We're not here to do any of that. We are old school. This is indigenous. We stick to that. And we hope to see you there. And yeah, you never know what you're going to get, because that's part of oral tradition. It shapes and it shifts with the time being, and it will change with who's in that group, right? So that's why we never set, this is what we're talking about. What are you going to talk about, Angel? When I'm going to talk, we don't do that. We just say, let's see who's in the group. Let's see how the energy is. And then we adjust, right? We're constantly adjusting because we're listening to each other. We're listening to the energy, and we're listening to the circle. So I always believe in, you teach the circle. Whoever shows up will then tell you what the circle needs to be taught. So it's a very different way. Instead of having, your PowerPoint, everything's planned out, you tick your boxes. So we hope that you will join us as we tour and embody the cosmos inside of you, outside of you, and find your path back to a way of being in deep relationship to all.
Yeah, and let go of this idea of change that is linear.
Yes,
change
thank you.
is not linear. It's circle at best. But also let go of seeing learning knowledge and changing and learning from this cosmology like you're climbing, a staircase to heaven. Because maybe there's a hole in the staircase and there's going to be some rabbit hole like in Alice in Wonderland, and you have to slide down first. And then maybe there's a little staircase and maybe there's another slide. So it's really non-linear, because those teachings are non-linear. That's the calendars are non-linear in the old cosmology. They're all circular. That's why the elders are so important. That's why many things are different. So we need to really let go of expectation. Maybe just expect being surprised, being challenged, being confused. We said that a few times, so now you're warned. And yeah, let that seed that is waiting inside of you, that I believe is so thirsty for such way of remembering. I truly believe that our soul is just craving all the time that way of belonging and learning and transforming, and yeah, be ready for some real magic too.
Beautiful.
Who knows?
I know, beautiful. Well, thank you, Angel. We'll do another one of these probably soon. And thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you in the circle soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Sanctuary Podcast. We deeply value your support. Please consider sharing this podcast with others and joining our Patreon page at patreon.com/thesanctuaryny. Once again, it is patreon.com/thesanctuaryny. At The Sanctuary, we believe that spirituality is a personal journey that takes many forms, and we honor and respect all paths to awakening and the rise of consciousness. Our mission is to provide a platform for open and honest conversations about spirituality, and to inspire and empower our listeners to live their most authentic lives in good relation to each other's, the living, and invisible worlds. I look forward to connecting with you again here or at our events, retreats, and online gatherings. You can find all our offerings at thesanctuaryheal.com. Once again, it is thesanctuaryheal.com.